All right, let's jump right in. We're going to be looking at a set of architectural plans today. But these aren't your typical hard-to-read blueprints. Not at all. This is something else. It's a blueprint that does way more than just show you what to build. It's actually designed from the ground up, to teach, to communicate, and to manage an entire project.
So be honest, have you ever looked at a traditional blueprint and just felt completely lost? All those lines, symbols, and tiny notes, it can be pretty overwhelming. And you're not alone. For years, these things have been like a secret language for architects and builders, and it often leaves everyone else kind of scratching their heads.
And this right here just says it all. On the left, you've got your classic black and white drawing. Yeah, it's accurate, but it's flat. It's an abstract idea. But on the right, that's the exact same view, just brought to life. All of a sudden, it's not a bunch of lines anymore. It's a home. The difference in understanding is just instantaneous.
So here's our game plan. We're going to break down how this whole new approach works. We'll start by going beyond the old school blueprint. Then we'll see how these plans actually teach you about the building process. After that, we'll get into the data that drives it all, see how it becomes this all-in-one document, and finally, talk about why this is really the future of how we build. Okay, first up, moving from lines on a page to something you can almost touch. The biggest leap forward here is that we're shifting away from abstract drawings and into these lifelike, photorealistic images that anyone, and I mean anyone, can understand in a second.
I mean, just look at this. This is where the magic happens. It totally closes that gap between what's in your head and what's real. With 3D renderings like this, a homeowner can actually see their finished house with the right light, the right materials, everything. It stops being an idea on paper and becomes this real, tangible thing you can get excited about.
And that clarity continues when we move inside. This isn't your average floor plan. It's more like a 3D dollhouse view of the whole space. All the guesswork is just gone. You don't need to be an expert to see how the kitchen flows into the living room or to really get a sense of how big the rooms will feel. It communicates the vibe of the space.
Now, we get to the really core idea here. These plans aren't just for looking at, they're actually designed to be a teaching tool. They use the visual power of infographics to make the super complex process of building a house crystal clear for everybody involved. This is just a perfect example of simplifying things. It takes the entire intimidating process of building a home, from pouring the concrete all the way to planting the shrubs, and breaks it down into 10 simple visual steps. It's like a roadmap that the homeowner, the builder, and the project manager can all follow together.
And it's all about demystifying how a house is built. This amazing cross-section of a wall peels back the layers so you can see exactly what's inside. You see the foundation, the sill plate, the studs, the insulation, the sheathing, the siding, every single piece. It's basically an anatomy lesson for the house, and it makes the how of it all so obvious.
And this idea doesn't just stop with the things you can see. It goes into the hidden systems inside the walls, too. This infographic lays out the home's entire electrical system. You could call it the house's nervous system. You can literally trace the path of power from the street to the panel and out to every single light and outlet. It makes the invisible visible. And it's the exact same story with the plumbing. Another complex, hidden system made totally clear. You can follow the hot and cold water lines and see how all the drains and vents work together as one system. There's no confusion, no ambiguity. It just makes sense.
You know, there's this quote from the designer Joe Sperano that just nails it. Good design is obvious. Great design is transparent. And that's exactly the philosophy here. The goal isn't just to make pretty pictures. It's to make the information so clear that it becomes transparent. You can see right through it to what really matters.
Okay, let's peel back another layer, because this is where these plans become incredibly powerful. This isn't just a visual aid or a teaching tool anymore. It's now a data-driven project manager that helps automate the nitty-gritty work of actually building the house.
So get this, behind every single wall, window, and roof line that you see in those 3D models, there's a database tracking every component. This list of framing lumber, no one sat there and typed it out. It was automatically generated right from the design itself. That's what turns the plan into a genuinely smart document.
So what does that actually mean for the project? Well, the impact is huge. Because the material lists are automatic, getting cost estimates is way faster and much more accurate. You know exactly what you need, so you end up with a lot less waste on the job site. And the whole ordering process just gets smoother, which saves time, money, and a ton of headaches.
And this just shows you the insane level of detail we're talking about. This is the masonry takeoff list. It's not a ballpark guess. It's a precise calculation of every cubic yard of concrete needed and an exact count of every single anchor bolt required. That's the power you get when your design is driven by data. All right, let's start pulling all of this together. We've seen how these plans can visualize, how they can teach, and how they can manage a project with data. So now, let's look at how it all comes together to serve every single person involved.
And this, right here, is the key. It's a single document that speaks multiple languages. For the homeowner, it brings their dream to life. For the builder, it gives them ultimate clarity on what to build and how. For the estimator, it's instant, accurate data for their bids. And for a marketer, hey, you've got beautiful, ready-to-go sales images. It's truly a one-stop solution that bridges the gap between design, marketing, and estimating for builders and homeowners alike.
CC, calling this a blueprint doesn't really cut it anymore. We need a new term. Let's call it a plan set. It's a complete collection of drawings, 3D views, data, and infographics that doesn't just document a project. It actively teaches you about it and helps you manage it from day one to the final walkthrough.
And that brings us to the future, because this kind of approach, it isn't just a cool gimmick or a niche product. This is quickly becoming the new standard for how we run efficient, collaborative, and ultimately, much more successful building projects.
At the end of the day, what we're really looking at is so much more than paper or a digital file. It's a central hub for communication. It builds a bridge over that gap that so often exists between what the homeowner dreams of, what the architect designs, and what the builder actually creates. It just gets everyone on the same page, working toward the same clear goal.
And I guess that's the big thought I want to leave you with. We just saw how smart design can completely transform a complex, technical document into a tool that's intuitive and powerful for everyone. So, if a building plan can be totally reinvented for clarity, it really makes you wonder what other complex things in our world are just waiting for their own design revolution.